Welcome along to a very special edition of NBL now. As always, it's thanks to Code Sports, your number one source for all the latest hoops news and information. Now, I say special because we've done NBL Nows at all sorts of weird and wonderful times, but I can't remember too many on a Sunday morning because right up in front of us in a few hours from now is first versus second, Melbourne United versus the Adelaide 36ers at John Cain Arena. I'm Jack Heverin. Damon Lowery's been up for hours. He's been running all over the neighbourhood. He's been doing his pull-ups, his push-ups. He's been doing everything. I don't really know what Derek Rucker's been doing, but he's on a fitness kick at the moment. So, gentlemen, good morning to both of you.
Morning, Jack. Derek, what's up, man? Yeah, we finally got ourselves a nice, tasty clash, Jack. 1v2, Sunday evening. Can't wait. Nothing else going on for me for the day, so I'm going to get stuck in this game. Can't wait for it.
But not only do we have 1 versus 2, Damon, but we also have the best player in the league versus the best team in the league. So there's a lot to get through here, and I can't wait. We're only, several hours away, but I'm sure everybody around the country is waiting for this one.
Yeah, this is a highly anticipated game. And to be honest, you two, it's probably the game we've been waiting for, isn't it? A matchup of this size.
Now, let me just say, this is 1v2. Technically, it's a heavyweight fight, but I feel like there's only one heavyweight in it. Adelaide 36ers will be competitive, Derek, because they have the brilliance of Bryce Cotton. But as a collective, I still feel like they are out of their weight class.
I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, they are 5-1, Damon, and if it was easy to be 5-1, we wouldn't have that growing middle class of teams around 3-4 and 4-3. 5-1 is nothing to sneeze at. And keep in mind, they had a late preseason change to their roster with Montrezl Harrell dipping out, and they had to add Nick Rakocevic. So I think they are a heavyweight, and at the worst, to continue in your crazy boxing metaphor, they are a light heavyweight.
This is Adelaide, and I don't want to disrespect. I'm not disrespecting their record. 5-1, you have to win, and you can only play who's in front of you. But when you see that Bryce has to score 100 points just to beat Cairns,
that's not factual.
What is it? 50 points it took just to beat Cairns. How on earth is he going to be able to? You're not going to beat Melbourne United doing that. He's not going to be able to put up that kind of numbers. We've seen him last year in the semifinal series where he went absolutely nuts for like a 30-piece. That's doable. But for the collective, Melbourne United are the deepest we've seen in quite a while. And I feel like you're underestimating the depth. You're underestimating their talent. They're undefeated. We've seen long winning streaks before, but it's been a while. Melbourne United can peel off there a 15, 16-game winning streak with this roster.
Yeah, and I've heard you say that they won't lose again in 2025. I see where you're coming from, but I also see how others view you as being completely absurd. The more games you win in a row, the closer you are to sustaining a loss. And I think Melbourne United today come into this game primed for an L, Jack. Everything is kind of aligned to go wrong for Melbourne United. Now, wrong means that it will be a close game and a close loss. In no way do I see this being a double-digit Adelaide victory. Let's be clear about that, Jack.
Why don't we talk about the man? No, keep going, please. Keep going, please, Damon. I'll just keep eating my bacon and eggs while you two go for it. Yeah.
So your theory on Melbourne United losing is because it could happen? That's your argument? Because it could? So just because it's 34 degrees every day in Darwin, it could snow tomorrow? That's not good enough. There's no fact. There's no proof. There's no, what is that based off of? I'm talking about Dean has constructed a roster with no offensive flaws, Derek. From 1 to 10, 3 stud imports, an unbelievable supporting cast, and defensively a juggernaut from top to bottom. Now, they don't have Bryce Cotton, but they got a collective that is greater.
I hear you. And Jack, he makes a good point because I am such a critical analyst and so based on evidence. But sometimes even I acknowledge that the statistics and all the evidence in front of you succumbs to just the universe and the basketball gods. You're not getting through this season undefeated. Jack, how many undefeated seasons have we had in NBL history? Damon.
I'll say that. I'll say it up until 2025.
Okay, well, I'm extrapolating. You're suggesting some type of 29-3 season, which would be crazy. That would be head blowing considering the parity in this league, Jack. Anything over 25 or 26 victories is like a landmark type season, considering the current nature of the National Basketball League.
You two are both crazy. It's just different ways. I think that's the easiest way that I understand it. Hey, why don't we talk about Bryce? I mean, if we're going to stick with Damon's boxing parlance for a second, this guy's the belt holder. He's going to walk into John Cain Arena with the strap over his shoulder because he is the number one player in this competition. What do about him?
Well, this is what I like to see happen. Now, obviously, Bryce is he's Bryce. He's a verb. But I feel like Tyson Walker for Melbourne United has the speed, Derek, the young legs. He's already shown us his defensive chops. He's stripped Parker Jackson Cartwright. He's got stuck in it, Jaden Adams. I would like to see Dean send Tyson to Bryce to start the game. Now, I'm not saying that he can shut Bryce down, but I want to see how those two match up. If Bryce gets off the chain, of course, you got to initiate a whole nother set of rules, which I'm sure Dean has up his sleeve. But I would like to see Tyson get first crack.
And I'm sure Dean feels that he can isolate Bryce in one-on-one defensive matchups and over the course of 40 minutes wear him down. I'm down with that philosophy and that theory, but I'm not willing to partake in it if I'm the head coach. I'm not going to give Bryce Cotton a chance. We've seen him pull off some incredible performances where he lifts teams' performance and their status at that time. And I don't want to risk that, Damon. I'm going out and taking the ball out of Bryce Cotton's hands. I'm not going to buy into my own ego and feel like my strategy is going to be the one. The Sydney Kings showed the blueprint. I'm following a similar blueprint, make it a little bit modified to suit my personnel, but I'm not giving Bryce a sniff. I'm not giving him a chance to go for 30 plus and keep Adelaide in this game on our home court. I want to nullify any engagement from Bryce Cotton from the tip.
You on board with that, Damon?
Well, look, here's the issue. Bryce, and let me move from the boxing analogy world, Derek. Can we talk some music? Bryce is the greatest singer in the band that we have seen in quite a while, right? He writes all the songs. He makes all the hits. The problem is Adelaide 36ers don't have another band member that can sing a duet with Bryce. They might have a guy like a Jermaine Jackson that can harmonize in the background, but if you go off on your own, you ain't making a Grammy hit. That's the issue. So Bryce has got to do too much heavy lifting, and he needs another band member, Derek, another playmaker, another guy that can really get in the booth and make a hit with them.
Well, it might be the case, Damon, in a season that only has 32 games, that you only need a few hits to be successful. Maybe they only need 2 songs on that album to sell 25 million copies. Maybe all they need is Bryce Cotton performing at this level and everybody else, DJ, Flynn, Isaac, Zylan, Nick, those guys just fit in where they can. They sing a little ah here and there, and they win enough games to get to the postseason. And that lead singer, when the postseason comes and they're playing Madison Square Garden, he goes off like Aretha Franklin. And it is.
So I said, I'm gonna get in between you two. You clearly both had too many coffees this morning already. We've just totally lost our way. The benches. So there will come a point where both teams will go to their bench. Dean Vickerman has shown us this season that he's willing to go to it in the first quarter and play 10, 11 guys in the opening term. Mike Wells runs a slightly shorter rotation. What happens when the teams go to their second units?
Well, I like Melbourne United's second unit. And now that they have, we think Chris Golding will continue to come off the bench. That's the big piece. Now, if that changes up when we get to the arena today, Jack, and Chris is in the starting lineup and Tanner Krebs, let's say, comes off the bench, I don't think it's that much of a change-up because Tanner Krebs has been playing outstanding basketball. So you've got two guys, one who is in red-hot form in Tanner Krebs' career form, and one who is just an all-time great in Chris Golding. One of those two guys is probably coming off the bench today. That gives them a significant superiority over what Adelaide is going to be able to bring off the bench. But Adelaide, they have a lot of guys trying to prove themselves. But overall, I give the bench edge, and especially from the defensive perspective, I give it to Melbourne United. And it will be imperative that when those second shifts come on, that Adelaide not lose ground because the Melbourne United second string is very volatile and explosive.
See, Jack, that was a trick question because Bryce Cotton is in the first unit and the second unit. He ain't coming out the game. Derek, you know he might sit out for maybe 2 minutes out of the whole game. So now you're looking at guys like Isaac White, Matt Kenyon, Nick Rakocevic, Blair Keanu Rasmussen. So those guys are not going to be able to generate enough points. Now, you look at Melbourne United's second unit. Good grief. Now, Chris Golding, if I'm Dean, I'm going to keep him coming off the bench. Chris is the emergency break the glass, not even emergency. Chris, you got 22 minutes, man. Go out there and give me 4 to 5 threes. Then you got between Kyle Bowen, my man from Tasmania, help me out.
Krislovich.
Fabian Krislovich, Tom Wilson, all these dudes hit the floor, man, and they get buckets. And not to mention on the defensive side, their second unit on defense is just as good as their first unit. Whereas I don't feel like Adelaide has the bite there in that second unit without Bryce being his brilliant self.
The other is the coaching. And we shouldn't walk past this one because Mike Wells, Damon, you've seen him a couple of times. Derek, you have too. You've been to Adelaide a few times this year and had a look at them up close. Mike Wells is starting to work out this team and what it looks like working around Bryce, but he's up against, one of the greatest coaches of the modern era in Dean Vickerman, and you could argue he's one of the greatest coaches in NBL history.
Well, let's talk about these guys first as people before we get into their basketball acumen. And we have the privilege of being able to work with both of them, and they're so great with the media. They love to have a chat before the game, and they're quite open about their intent on game day with their teams and their approach to basketball. Now, Dean Vickerman is coaching hard this year, Jack. He's holding everybody uber accountable, and you see it in his behavior and conduct in games. He's pulling players aside, correcting them, teaching them, coaching them. He's quick on the timeout trigger when things don't go his team's way. Mike Wells has done a really good job in figuring out a way to continue to allow Bryce Cotton to develop and increase his superstardom. Jack, this might be crazy. I thought Bryce Cotton's last season with the Perth Wildcats was his best as a pro. I think he's off to a hotter start now. You take out that Sydney game, Jack, he's currently averaging 30.7 points a game in a 40-minute game. Crazy.
Yeah, now, I think we were talking about the coaches. You flipped it back to Bryce, which was no harder to say because Bryce is Bryce. But Mike Wells, here's the difference, slight difference. Stay with me on this one, Derek. Mike Wells is this season, his main focus, on top of obviously winning, is to rebuild the culture of the Adelaide 36ers. That locker room was a circus last year. Mike Wells put out so many fires. He probably is a registered fireman now in South Australia. Now, a successful season would be a Final Four finish, sellout crowd every game. I feel like Mike would be happy with that. And just on a personal note, I have been in Adelaide a couple of times this season, Jack Cotton games. Mike is such a personable guy, easy to like, loves to talk hoops. Great. He's a great energy for the league. Love the fact that he's here.
Yep.
Now,
Well, hold on one second. Hold on
yes, give me one more, man. Give me one more. Dave Vickerman is trying to figure out how the hell can I win a game 5. I done lost back-to-back game 5s. Dane is coaching with a whole nother level of intensity and focus that I think Mike has.
Well, first of all, I don't know how you are aware of what Adelaide's values are with respect to this season. I actually think a top 4 finish only would be a disappointment. If they get knocked out in the semifinals, Damon, that's not enough. They've invested far too much. It's championship series or bust. Now, if they get to the championship series and went down and lost, I would say that's a successful season. They'll be gutted. They'll be devastated. But from the outside, it is a significant improvement. So I don't know where you get that top 4 finish from. I know you spent a few days down there, but I don't think you were at practices or any team meetings really getting inside what they're trying to achieve this season.
I was never one of the ones that thought this was a championship, this penciled it in. This is, don't forget, everybody was...
Damon, you don't go get Bryce Cotton to be in the play-in.
Of course, but to win the whole thing, Bryce was in the league last year, didn't make it to the championship series. In the year,
they got beat on they got beat on 2 free throws in the dying minutes of game 3.
I don't know what to tell you, except they didn't make the championship series. And now, all this was based on the fact that Montrezl Harrell was going to be on the team. That's what everybody was talking. Now they got a legitimate 20-point scorer. That guy is now gone. There's not another player, and this is with respect, there's not another player on Adelaide's roster that can average 20 points. So Bryce is going to have to not only continue doing what he's been doing, but some of those other guys going to have to not only have those cameos, but have extended games throughout the season to get to a championship series.
We could go forever on this game, but Derek and I have got to go and do our hair and get ready for this one. So let's get a prediction out of both of you before we finish. I think we know where Damon's going to go with this one. So Damon, you can go first here. Who is winning this game and by how many?
Melbourne United will continue their winning streak, and they will win this game, Derek, by 14.
Okay, so I did some calculations based on some of the advanced metrics that I've seen. And I've got Melbourne United 101, Adelaide 92.
So you just couldn't say Melbourne United by 10.
Well, given everything that's going around globally, I'm just going to give a nice little score, 101-92, Melbourne United. And it's going to be a great contest. This is it's rare we get these types of games this early in the season.
Can't wait for it. Thanks for joining us early this morning. A massive thanks to you two for waking up early, but clearly you're both full of beans, as we can tell. But it's been a pleasure. It's, as always, thanks to Code Sports, your number one source of NBL news and information. Melbourne and Adelaide this afternoon, John Cain Arena. Can't wait.